Hi, welcome to my competitors. I'm just going to go through and have a look at creating a competition and some of the prerequisites that you should look at. So the first thing we're going to look at is actually not the competition. We're going to go into the menu and we're going to have a look at the master catalog. So within the app, there's a master catalog of the categories, and in there you can assign different information. As part of the delivery and package, that includes a master catalog example that is built historically on the competitions that have been run at the national level and state level in Victoria. So we go up here to the menu and we see, and it says install preloaded. And then we're going to replace and install. And it will go and bring in 501 categories. And in a category, depending what they are, it will give them for a card or a kumite, depending whether it is their age groups, their sex, their weight, and if it's got any other restrictions, it'll put it in there. It also defaults in the match time based on juniors 1 minute 30, below juniors 1 minute 30, juniors and cadets, 2 minutes or 2 minutes 30, and so forth. So that's already preloaded. That can be modified. It is a prerequisite, but it's a recommended prerequisite, but it doesn't really matter if you don't do it, because you can do it later, or you can build from another few ways. The second thing we need to look at is within a club, and we just look at this club here, is the branding. So within the branding, you import and set your logo. That is used later on, and you can also add some different parts to it that you will see that may appear on your flyers a little bit later. But that's just the two things you need to look at: the branding, what you've got, any comments, and this is the case. I've looked at one. The next thing we do is go to a competition, and in this case, I'm just going to look through one, and then I'll come back and create one. So we've got a competition. It has within the wizard competition, which can be created manually. You can import it from different means. And over here, you can see import the master catalog, import all these different things, and they are available depending on what part of here you're working for. So in this case here, within the competition, you can do a bulk import, and that is the prerequisites come from sports data, and you download those and load them in as a pack. That can be the competition details, it can be the categories, competitors, and can load in one pack. Or you can do it independently, as it says from here. You can create from the master catalog, you can create from another competition, so you can import from that. So in this case here, I'm going to create a competition. In this case here, it's Western things. And then I'll go in and set the dates, whether I'm going to generate a draw or not generate a draw. So over here, we've got a draw, and this is already set up based on synthetic data. And I didn't talk about it. The estimated competitors that is in the master catalog is historically from Australian events of how many competitors are actually in there as an average. And if I don't turn it on and it's just straight from sport data, it doesn't give you the ability to do that. So that's up to you. The sport, the limitation, how we're going to have it, one bronze, or two bronze, no fourth, for example. There's just a few variables that you can set. There are time zone, if I can get to it, time zones and date it closes, if it does close, any extra details you want to add, and any acknowledgements you want to add, and you can add different additional comments and sponsors. So that's it all. And this is where it says for the report branding, it says what club do I want to use? And you can have a co-branding here. In this case, this was the example for the Greater Western Karate, and it's two clubs. So I've added those things, and that will appear, and you'll see it a little bit later, depending on what it. And then you have the categories. In this case here, I can clear all the categories. Sorry, sit down the bottom. Um, uh, I've got the wrong glasses on. I can't even read my own things. I've lost. I want to delete. Delete all categories. So I can delete all categories, and that will go through. And I'm doing the Western Sydney. Now, this has just been as an example, and the category should, by rights, have deleted. I don't know why they're not. But delete all competitors. I've got all these things loaded, so I shouldn't be using this. So I'll go into my comp, which I've got no details in, and I've just called it my comp. I haven't put really anything in it. And then I get down to categories, and I'm going to go up to the top here where it says import, and I'm going to import from the master catalog, which is what I was talking about earlier on. I then go and select, multi-select. You know, these are the international ones that are from Thailand, and I go and select a number of, whatever I need to select. I'm going to select all these, different categories, and I'm going to import them, and it will set up the data as it imports all those in. Hopefully, I don't know what's happening here. Oh, okay. Let's import. Okay, did it? We're still deleting. Okay, import from catalog. I'm going to select just 3, import, and there they are. Okay, it's because it was still deleting and clearing out the old one because it had a few in there. Within here, you see this field down the bottom here called competitors. So this allows us to synthesize a randomness of how many people would be in a competition. So I need to give this, I've created a new one. I haven't opened the old one. So going up the old one and down here, it says age, sex, males, and down here it says how many expected, 14. So this has come in from the catalogue. There's normally 14 across the whole board at whatever category this is, males, cadets, 57. And then once when it's got those in there, I can come into timetable, and it says configure and generate timetable. Now it says generate a preview, right? And you can just click on, and it's based on the data that we put in there. And over here on the builder, you can say how many Tanamis I've got. I've only got 3, I've only got 2, and it will then regenerate the preview, and it will add those. If I only have 1, regenerate the preview, and then you can see it moves those around. How many minutes per match will work out. So it's got here, I've got X amount of competitors, and I can also move things around and drag and drop to a degree. It's not necessarily. What is the interval between matches? It shouldn't be 2 minutes. It might be 1 minute, and you might say, a match is 5 minutes and 1 minute. So that's allowing 6 minutes, and regenerate. All right, and it'll change things around in the best sequence. How many maximum competitors per pool before we split them up? And there's a few other minor settings in here. If you have Kata and Kumite, run Kata before Kumite. That's a setting. If you don't care, you only want to do that. Enforced separation. Enforced separation is talking about the competitors, individuals, where they have are in multiple competitions or categories, multiple categories, and you need to make sure that there's a break between one to the other. Because if they're going one straight to the other, what is the break? And it might be as 5 minutes. And when you turn that on, you then have a look. If there's a competitor in there, it'll pick up if there's a potential conflict. And review separation needs, right? So there's none on this one, so it doesn't matter. Regenerate the preview, and you can do that. Once we've got a timetable, I didn't commit that, sorry, that's my mistake. Regenerate, generate based on the data, and I go and commit the timetable. Now, this is a draft, and it tells me I've got no data quality issues if I did have, and then I go back to the competition because I didn't enable it. As I said, generate draw. I can come into the draw, and using that same synthetic data, I can generate a draw, but I'm not going to do that. But that would be what I would do if I had that option available with the competitors. So the generate the draw should be based on the fact that you have competitors, and then it will obviously do competitor one. Once when you've done that, if I go back to another competition, and we're going to go back to um, home competitions, and let's pick that's the demo. I've only got a few competitions in here. Filters. Recent, 30 days ago, past, needs attention. So I'm going to go to the past. And in here, I've got the Australian Open, the Nationals and the Australian Open. And I've got all these things. And it's got day one, day two, and had the weather originally forecasted. You can't forecast those in the part. When I come into the draw, and if I looked at the draw, it shows all these and who they are competing. And that comes into the event schedule. So we can now have a quick look at an event schedule. This is the cover page. It can be turned on and off. It can add weather, and you can show things. So in here, you can see all the competitors for this, and it's day one, day two, day three, as it was for the thing. So this sort of like looks good. And you can show Kumite or Carter or both. You can apply a filter on just a club or more than one club, in this case here, Karate Victoria. And I click that done, and you can see here it's now changed. See dual branding? Dual branding. And now I can see that this competition, which over here, the under 14s minus 52 has two competitors. But if I now went in and said show all, you watch that when it redraws, and I'll come back to it on day one. There it is there. And you can see it's now showing things, and the highlight beside the names is our two competitors. So that's how it works, Saturday, Sunday. And if you print or export, you can share it via HTML for a web page. If you want to put it up as a web page, you can share it as PDF. These little tags here, you see the numbers, are direct links because it's been imported from Sports Data and will open up and will work within the PDF or the HTML file. So that's how it comes together. There's also a web mirror. You can actually go, if I go to a draw, I should do this. It's got here score. I have a scoreboard. And depending whether it's a Kumite or a Carter, Carter, it doesn't have a scoring. So I'll go and add a filter. I don't want to, I want a Kumite, so I can bring up a Kumite. It's got the scoring there, so I can do the scoring for this. And down the bottom, down the very bottom, if I went and did the draw, it should start to show some pictures about what it looks like, and you can lock in the draw. There's also a web mirror that I'm going to quickly bring up. And in here, through the competition, I go to draw, and I'm going to look at the Australian cardio actions, and I'm going to filter on U14 so we can see the same thing, minus 52. So we've now got that same category. I'm going to open the draw here. Okay, I don't know why that. It just was waiting to get the data. I was a bit quick. And there I've got my draw. And down the bottom, you can see the playoffs through the repechage that happens. I can then go in and score this match, and it will record the winner at the end of it. I can go in and score, and it opens up another web page, and similar scoring, 2 minutes 30 defaulted in. A little bit bad on that placement of that. I need to fix that. And then I can click on a score, and red and blue, and I can score those, and whoever scores first, since I can clear those, I can add times, I can reset times, and I can assign a match winner down the bottom here. But anyway, that's the competition. It can do full scoring, it can do a fair bit, but it's still in development. It hasn't been tested, and there's been no feedback. So it's been predominantly doing it by my lonesome, and hopefully getting it a little bit better the more, and hopefully getting it a bit better as it gets more exposure. Anyway, this is what it does.